Hey, you might hear some background noise out here, and that's okay because I chose to do this outside because I can, and some neat things are happening. So I kind of want to share with you some exciting things. So I am out of the truck. Some of you may or may not know I was working, building a business and doing those types of things from the back of a semi for quite a while, about 7 years to be exact, almost to the month. Now I'm back working from my home. I'm sitting out here on my porch. Yep, there's some road construction. You saw that in one of the pictures there in the beginning. And my lawn needs a little work. I also had some surgery recently. Had to have my shoulder cuff repaired, and my upper arm muscle repaired and moved and reattached to the bone, and some other things in there. So I'm right-handed. Thus, I'm a little nervous to try shaving with a left hand, because I don't want to look like Jason got hold of me, if you know what I mean, right? So I may not have that clean shaven look you're used to seeing with me for a while, but we'll get there. It's a process. So let's talk a little bit about business and working from home and some of the things that are changing. First, in order for this to make sense, I got to give you a little bit of background. Now, see, I served in the military in the United States Army from 1980 until the end of 1989, so just a couple months shy of 10 years. I was had some injuries that medically retired me, and so I moved on, and I went into sales. Well, the first sales I did was car sales. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed car sales. I just didn't really enjoy dealership mentality, which appears to have changed over the last few decades, but back then I didn't care for it. But I was number one salesman my second month there, first getting started again, and about 9 or 10 months into that, I ran across a job opening for something I'd always wanted to try, and so I went out and gave it a shot. I took over as a camp manager and ran a camp for a YMCA group up in the Big Bear Mountains area of Southern California. Now, there was no money in this, but it was the funnest job I ever had. Had raccoons coming to the campfires at night. Had bears all over the place that I was chasing. I even got awards for chasing bears from some of the groups, and my sons and nephew and others will tell you that they remember seeing bear going by, and there was me going by, and I was yelling, chasing, screaming, jumping up and down, and everything else. But eventually that didn't pan out because I kind of liked having a little bit of money. And so I went back into sales. I went back into car sales to a different lot down in the San Bernardino, California area. And within the first 3 weeks, I ended up taking over as a sales manager. This was a large Mazda Lincoln dealership. And we did quite well until some things happened in the economy and the Air Force Base closed. This was right as the Gulf War, the first one, started. And it kind of threw me into a bit of a spiral. And friend of mine had mentioned, he said, hey, I've got this program where you can just go out and sell memberships to this organization, or a fraternal organization. They help people, they do things for people. And I'm like, okay, let me check it out. So I did. It looked great, the benefits were awesome, pretty inexpensive membership, so I started selling those. Well, they forgot to kind of tell me that they also did insurance and other types of programs, and I thought, well, that's not something I've ever even considered, but since I'm already having some success and I like the company, I'm going to jump in. So I did. I got my licenses and I started learning. And about 8 months later, not wanting to really be in California, no offense to my California friends and everybody, but it wasn't for me. I'd been gone for a long time. So I seen this opening up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it was for a sales manager. So I packed my family up on a Friday. We headed up on Saturday. We showed up at my sister's for a place to stay for a couple of days on Sunday. And I went in on Monday, let them know that I'm Don Raines. I'm here. Oh, by the way, I'm also here to take over your sales manager position. And about an hour later, I walked out of the manager's office with that position in hand and ready to go. In that particular company, Utah had never made the tops of the books for production in all three countries that they operated in. Well, by the end of that year, we had made the top 10% of the companies. We had tremendous success going on. We had a cruise. This company does some of the best reward travel parties that there is, and so we went on a 7-day cruise through the Caribbean. Had 3 or 4 agents that qualified for various different events on top of that, so it was not all about me. It was about helping them grow. I mean, you've heard some of my stories about some of the people that worked for me back then. But you know, companies go through some changes, and a couple of years down the road, the upper echelons of that company, well, they had some issues and they had some problems, and they fired all their sales managers and all their managers. And so I kind of went independent. I started doing my own thing, ran an agency. My wife and I ran it together, both licensed. My wife's one of the best appointment setters you'll ever see for that industry, and she's tag teaming with me again. We had about 34 agents work for us, and we were doing good. But what we noticed was a trend at the time of toxicity coming in through the companies, and I felt more and more like I was defending my agents against the company, trying to protect them from the company. And so we had some real issues go on. And I walked away from that industry way back in 2005 and proceeded to do some things in real estate investing, which we were doing really good at. We hadn't quite reached our goal of where we needed to be in the cash flowing and transition of things when the recession hit. And over a 2-year period after that, after losing all the properties because I couldn't move them that we had in rehabs and other things going on, we ran out of savings, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And instead of looking for something to do that I knew, I ended up in a truck. Now, don't get me wrong, that truck saved my bacon. It allowed me to get my head back together, because when you go from a very, very nice residence and you have a lot of pride in being able to take care of your family and provide great things for them, and it's not all about the money, because like I told them when we left, this is just stuff and we can get it back. But it still hit me in the head. And in that truck, I really sunk into myself for a while, and I had to work it out. Let that truck get by. Got some concrete stuff going on out here, and I did that on purpose. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. So after working up in the oil fields and being 52, 53, and out producing 25, 27-year-olds, and then doing some over-the-road long haul and some flatbed work, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I ran into some folks, and for a different particular venture, good company, but not something I could easily do from a truck, and the way that they did business didn't really suit Don anymore. That's not good or bad, that's Don. But I did learn a lot from them during the process, and we've stayed in touch and stayed in contact, and I started working on myself, my head, getting things straight, right? Because if you're not straight here, you can't get straight anywhere else. You can look straight to other people, but you ain't. You're not there. And how do you help other people if you're not solid here, right? Well, so I started working on it. You know, we got some things going, and I was looking for a way out of the truck. I tried a couple of different ventures that they were both good, and I was making money, but they were very difficult to do due to lack of time, because as a truck driver, you drive for 11 hours, but then with breaks and loading and unloading and everything, you can work 12, 14-hour days without an issue. And those hours aren't always convenient to doing other types of business, so it kind of got in the way. So here's the funny part. I come across an ad, and this ad was back in the industry that I'd walked away from 2005. But the girl in this ad really, really caught my eye. No, not because she was good looking or anything like that. Her story caught my eye. What she had to say resonated here, because it was what I was trying to work on with my wife and what we had been building, and it kind of fell apart. And she was with a group that was making it happen. It wasn't just her, it was the group, it was the system, it was the program of how they were going about things. And if you're interested in that, get hold of me. I'll be happy to share that specifically with you. I'm not going to do that here, but you won't regret it if you do. So I kind of started doing some following up on that. And I called. I actually called and set an appointment. And it was a video or telephone style appointment to talk about it, see if I had an interest, get me some more information. That one went okay. And then there was to be some follow-up interviews that didn't happen because when I got on the line, when I got on the phone, there was nobody there. Okay, I get things get in the way of life, so I overlooked it, finally got that to happen. Then I had some issues personal with some other things that might have prevented me from getting a license, and I wasn't sure I could work around. Was told I'd get a call back, and I never did. And that had me thinking, is this where I want to be? Well, I liked the system. I liked the system. It rocked. And I could see why people were making at least what I was making every month, every week, and sometimes significantly more. But it wasn't just a few of the people at the top. This was people in the bottom, in the middle, in the middle. You name it, it didn't matter. And there was people that were in it for 1 or 2 or 3 months. I was talking to people who'd only been in it for 3 or 4 years, making $250,000 a year, and they'd never been in insurance or anything. So I started listening, and then I was talking to the coaches that I'd run into about 1.5 years, and turns out he was looking at the same company. And I said, well, I guess we'll be competitors. We're going to be under the same big team, but on different strings of it. But after this happened, I called him back up. I said, let me get running with you. So I got running. And it's starting to take off quite nicely out there. But here's the funny thing. It was a full circle turn. Now, does that stop me from doing some of the other things I'm doing? Absolutely not. Most people need what's called a bread and butter, your basic income to cover the expenses of living, preferably some of the fun that you like doing in life, doing some of the nice things, doing some travel and stuff, as well as the cost of doing business until the business is sufficiently up and running to cover its own expenses. Give you a story of what I mean. My wife and I were doing lots of real estate fix and flips. In fact, when the recession in 2008 hit, we had, 3/4 of a dozen in the process of going through. Prior to that, we had been making really good money because we were selling, in addition to all that, education with a great group on how to invest in real estate and make money, keep your losses down, and how to negotiate. And it just had all kinds of classes that you could continuously go through and learn, and they were all taught by people who were actually doing what they were teaching. They weren't just teaching theory. I don't like theory teachers unless you're a scientist, possibly. So we're in these classes, right? And we're banking, we're selling these classes, and we're making, 10 to 40 grand a month, and we're having a good time. And all of a sudden, that company had some issues with its leader, and it went bye-bye. And you might have seen that happen with some companies, right? Well, we already had the fix and flips going, and so we just kept going on it, and I made the fatal mistake. I made that fatal mistake of not going out and creating something else that was creating income while we were getting to the point in our real estate journey that we needed to be self-sufficient. Now, I had learned from a great mentor who's passed away from a plane wreck since then, years ago. He had taught us quite well, and he was making as much as $700,000-800,000 a month sometimes in this particular group. And he had taught what Robert Kiyosaki taught, and that is that you have to have a business that produces income to cover your business expenses if something goes bad. For instance, if I have 2 or 3 rental properties, and let's say that I have enough profit off of each one to live and cover my own mortgage every month, what happens if 2 or 3 of those rental properties go vacant, and they go vacant for more than a month or 2? If I don't have cash flow coming in from another source to cover those debts until they're self-sufficient, I could be in a bind. And I was. All of a sudden, I couldn't cover the notes, and things started foreclosing. We couldn't sell them because they weren't worth what we were into them at that particular time. Had I had the ability to cover them, I could have got them refinanced when they were done. I could have held on to them as rentals. Eventually, they would have been worth what they were and more, just like they are now. And I didn't follow some key rules in that particular industry. This particular industry that I went back into is giving me great income for people who are willing to go out and get it. I'm back home. I got my family inside. I get to see my grandkids. I get to see my kids. You know, I've got a son out here in Utah that runs a magnificently awesome real estate sales organization. I've got one that works for the U.S. Army Utah, and top leader there. I've got others, another one that runs a forms and construction business as an owner. I've got one joining work with me, coming on in this kind of a sales. I get to be a part of that again. I'm not having to give up my life, my time, and missing out on everything that's important. Now, I'm not saying jobs are wrong, because they're not, but there are options and alternatives to be able to start freeing or free up the time that you would like, or to create additional income so that you can turn things around if you choose. Now, I have some great friends. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. When I was doing great in real estate, I had a friend that was making an extra $200,000 a year part-time doing real estate. Now, what was significant was he was a full-time nurse at Primary Children's Hospital at the time. And I asked him, I'm like, dude, why are you working at the hospital when you're making $200,000 a year compared to what you're making as a nurse? He said, let me ask you a question, Don. He said, if your child was up here, who do you want walking over them? Somebody who's there because they've got to make a buck to pay the rent, or somebody who doesn't need the money? They're there because they like what they do. Jobs are not bad. I'm not a job basher. But I do believe in options and opportunities and creating wealth within or on the side of a job, and giving you the flexibility to choose where you want to be. That choice may not be something now, but it might be something you want to exercise down the road, right? So, getting back to where I'm at, yeah, full story, full circle. Here I am back in an industry I started in when I got out of the military. And this company, it just rocks. Talk about positivity, talk about positive attitude, and a system. And I don't care what you choose to get into out there, but if you don't have a system, you don't have anything going for you. Systems are everything. Now, I help people with some stuff, with a system that get things going and keep the costs down, regardless of what your business is for your marketing side. It rocks. It does stuff that the big systems do and more without additional cost. And now I'm out protecting families and helping homeowners and families from unplanned loss or unplanned, unexpected events, so that they don't lose everything. Life is nice. Life can take on some great things. Now, here I am. I had the shoulder surgery, the arm surgery. I'm in a brace, and I'm setting up this week where I'm actually doing pretty much all this online, doing it through Zoom. And I'm helping others get started doing the same. How are you choosing to set things in motion to create freedom for you and for your family? I'm not talking about trying to get out of the job. I'm not talking about all that hype and everything, but realistically, are you doing something that can create income? Did you know just by having a good part-time business out of your home, whether it's something like working with me in the financial services if you're here in the States, or some of my other programs that just help online, that you create a business and create substantial tax write-offs? And I can't speak for all the countries out there, but I can here in the USA. 85% of our tax code is how to avoid paying taxes. How to avoid paying taxes by legally doing things the government would like you to do, such as businesses and homes and rentals and buildings and you name it, all this type of stuff. Only 15% of the tax code is about paying taxes. And yet, the majority of the folks out here won't even start something part-time just to get on the other side of the tax code. What a difference life could be, right? Well, we've got some significant things happening now that we're having fun. My wife and I are back in it. We're on the team. Not only are we protecting folks, we're helping them get out of debt in substantially less time, and for some significant groups of people here in the States, we're showing them how to do that. Tax-free. Wow. How's your day going today? How are you here? Are you excited? Are you ready? Are you jumping on it with all you got? Are you taking downtime? I was talking to a guy that I work with. He's up above me in my company. Been in this business for 4 years. And I like one of the things that we have in common, not him, but many of the leaders. A lot of us lost big time during the recession, but people didn't give up and they didn't quit. And others have had other struggles. 4 years in this business, never been in this industry before, didn't have anything to do with it, multi-millionaire now. And I asked him, I said, we were at a little gathering there and having some training, and afterwards a little get together and some good food and stuff and socializing. And I said, just curious, in your 4 years here with this organization, what would you say is the biggest key to success or failure? And he did not say skilling up, though it was important. He did not say who you joined, although that can make a difference. He didn't say learning everything there is about the product or the service that you have, although that can be important. You know what he said? He said, those who tend to stick to an established time frame, an established schedule that is productive, both in business, family, personal time, spiritual growth, and don't sway from that, are the ones that reach success the fastest and the greatest. How's your schedule? I was a truck driver for 7 years. I lost time of schedule because the only schedule I had is what time do I have to be there, so what time do I get up and drive. Now, I'm getting up at a certain time. I'm getting my self-study in. I'm working on maybe the social media stuff. Then I'm working on this, blogging or other things that I'm putting. Then I'm working on my leads. I've got a schedule for all the way through when I'm going to be seeing people and talking to people. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's been easy. Last week was a little hard, plus I was struggling with some pain. This week I've still got some. The doc just laughed at me when I came in last week, said, you only got 5 more weeks to go in that brace, so hang on. But you got to get it down. The quicker you get it down, the quicker you move up. So that's my thoughts for today. I hope I brought some value to you. If I did, make sure you like or subscribe, depending on where you're viewing this at. If you're on my website, on my vlog, make sure you sign up for the newsletters. I don't do a lot of them. They'll come out about once a week. I do have some tips and things to help you grow whatever type of business you're in. Some of it has nothing to do with business. It's just about life, right? Anyway, great chatting with you. Great to be back. How much are we going to accomplish before the end of the year? I know how much I'm going to get done. How about you? Y'all have a great day. Director of Fun is out of here. All right.